Hi there, and welcome from ASCO 2017. I'm Maria Whitman. I'm the head of Oncology and Specialty Therapeutics at ZS Associates, and I'm so excited to be joined today by Dr. Yousuf Zafar, who is the Associate Professor of Medicine and Public Policy at Duke University. Dr. Zafar, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
With manufacturers in particular, what types of evidence do you think they need to be showing to support the value of their products?
That's a very important question. And honestly, I think it's a question that's on the minds of many of us here at ASCO today, for example. And you know, the first word that comes to mind is value.
Yes.
Though I'll have to say, I think it's very easy to spout off you know, the importance of value and leave it at that, but it's so much more, there's so much more nuanced of a discussion. We have to think about value to society,
yes,
but at the same time we have to think about value to the patient. And they don't, those two different values set of values don't necessarily overlap. So when we think about how a drug is brought to market, what our patients want to know is that going to help me live longer?
yes.
Is that going to help me live better?
Mm-hmm.
Will I be able to afford that treatment? And those are all critical questions. I think as a society, as health system, what we want to know is, will we be able to afford that new intervention along with all of the other new interventions that are coming in? So beyond overall survival, beyond quality of life and PFS, there's so many other important questions that we have to take into consideration.
For manufacturers specifically, you know, real-world evidence provides a lot of opportunity to look deeply at the impact that their products are having. Can that support the value and the price that, you know, that is associated with their products?
So that's a really important question that I'm not sure I have a great answer to. Ultimately, I think the manufacturers have to answer that question of where they're able and willing to invest their dollars. But I'll tell you, it is an investment that I think pays dividends. Because the more we understand of how a particular drug interacts with a population, the better that drug can be targeted. And you know, I think you can even stop short of real-world evidence the way we're talking about it and think of molecular diagnostics, right? And as drugs have entered the market over the past decade or two, and we've realized that those drugs have different responses based on the patients and their tumor's molecular profile, those drugs then become more efficient and effective.
Yes.
And I think that same example applies to real-world evidence.
Now, in this world today, we have 836 molecules in development, and every category seemingly has more and more of a similar type of mechanism. They may have clinical differences, but the real-world evidence, if we show, for example, that one biomarker-based therapy has a tremendous benefit in a certain population, are other similar mechanism of action products going to get a class effect from physicians on that, or are physicians really going to think about that as real-world evidence against that one product?
You're right in that we are seeing so many new drugs enter the market. I think since you finished your question, 2 more biologic agents have entered and have received approval, and it's happening incredibly fast. Yes. So if we think about the power of real-world evidence, I would hope that that's where we might be able to tease apart some differences in class, beyond the sort of class effect. And you know, you apply that immediately to immunotherapies today. We're seeing so many drugs that are entering the market that have similar or same mechanisms of action. And if we can understand beyond the clinical trial how patients might respond differently to those drugs in different instances using large evidence bases, then maybe we can start understanding that there is not just a class effect. Maybe some of these drugs have different effects in different subpopulations of patients.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what would your recommendation be to manufacturers regarding how they should be using real-world evidence today?
One word: partnership. I think we have to understand that we as academicians have to understand the needs of manufacturers and payers, all part of the same set of challenges, that we need to help the creation of tools and metrics and measures to collect real-world evidence. At the same time, manufacturers need to understand the power of it, in that there will come a time where we will not solely look to the randomized clinical trial, and we'll have to look beyond it as drugs become more specific in their targets, as we understand that colon cancer is not colon cancer, right? And that's where the partnership becomes so important.